Ross, big homie. First of all, you know it love. Second of all, I got to call a spade when it's a spade. You say you did it for free. Everybody do it for free, Ross. You ain't the only nigga who did it for free. T.I. do it for free. Busta Rhymes did it for free. Snoop Dogg did it for free. Everybody who sat on that couch do it for free.
The story kicks off wild with whispers about Rick Ross and Diddy's soap parties no longer being just rumors. There's actual proof floating around now. DC Young Fly dropped a blurred out clip that, at first glance, looked harmless. But if you know the culture, you know the rules told a different story. NDAs handed out at the door, no phones allowed, and everybody dressed in all white like it was some kind of ceremony, not just a hangout. That phone footage was the perfect disguise for everything they didn't want the public to see. And guess who was standing front and center on that tape? Rick Ross, shoulder to shoulder with Diddy, like the two were running the show. Flashback 3 years ago, Ross pulled up on the 85 South show with DC Young Fly, Carlos Miller, and Chico Bean. At first, it was lighthearted, Ross laughing, cracking jokes, showing that cool boss vibe. They spoke about hustling, music, and how you can't ever ease up in the game. Ross himself said, "You just can't take your foot off the gas."
Now, that wasn't the biggest moment. Now, that's one of the viral moments, but Boosie episode 8 million. Got Country Wayne, shit like 6, 7 million. Like, we do numbers, we do analytics. Our analytics, we was the biggest before you came, and we was the biggest afterwards. So you always got room to come back to be on the biggest podcast in the world, correct? You dig what I'm saying? But when you call a spade, it get hot.
But then, out of nowhere, he switched up. He excused himself, said he needed to hit the restroom and take off his jacket, and just like that, he walked out. The crazy part, he never came back. No warning, no explanation, nothing but an awkward silence left hanging in the air. Later, Ross brushed it off, calling it a scheduling conflict, but DC wasn't buying that excuse, not one bit.
Be mindful. You may never know who knows somebody, who kin to somebody, who saw what you posted, because you're going to have to stand on business.
DC eventually admitted in a recent interview that he still had respect for Ross musically, but the way he dipped out was shady. He even described it as humiliating. Before all this mess, DC had admired Ross heavily, calling him one of the South's best lyricists, someone who actually put effort into writing and crafting lines with meaning. So when Ross ghosted them mid-show, it hit harder than just a guest leaving. Fans and critics started whispering, was Ross scared of unedited, raw questions that might expose what was really going down behind the curtain? Because while Ross bailed on his own people, he had no problem sitting down with a white podcast host for nearly 2 hours, where he openly answered tough questions like the correctional officer controversy.
Ross, big homie. First of all, you know it love. Second of all, I got to call a spade when it's a spade. You say you did it for free. Everybody do it for free.
DC pointed out the contradiction. Ross handled those uncomfortable questions eloquently, but couldn't even give his own people the same energy. That's when folks started wondering what Ross was really running from. Ross didn't help himself with his response either. He hopped online and shot back with a video, dismissing everything, saying DC should just be grateful he even came at all. Ross repeated over and over that he showed up for free. He didn't ask for analytics or money, he just pulled up. He acted like that alone excused walking out mid-episode. And then he tossed in some ridiculous shade about lemon pepper wings, claiming that next time, the least they could do is have some waiting for him. But that flex backfired because DC wasn't about to let Ross rewrite the story. He clapped back, reminding everyone that Ross wasn't the only legend to show up for free. T.I. did it, Snoop Dogg did it, and plenty of others sat down without asking for a dime. Ross wasn't special and his behavior wasn't excusable. And here's the kicker. DC pulled the numbers to prove Ross wrong. The very episode Ross walked out on, it still pulled over 8 million views. Episodes with Country Wayne were hitting 6 or 7 million. In other words, 85 South was thriving before Ross, and they kept thriving after Ross. DC said if Ross had just been upfront about having limited time, it wouldn't have been a problem. Instead, he slipped out like a thief in the night, leaving even his own team confused about where he had gone. That's when the rumors started heating up. People began connecting dots between Ross and Diddy, whispering that maybe there was more to their link than music.
Diddy and Ross, which they good buddies, okay? They gay. Who? Both. Diddy and Ross.
Ross began pulling away from certain ties and fans noticed. Then DC stirred the pot again by posting that infamous blurred foam party clip showing a bizarre all-white soap-filled party at Ross's estate. Guests signed NDAs, phones were confiscated, and the thick foam created a smokescreen that nobody could see through. Suspicious, right? Even more suspicious, DC dropped that clip right after Ross promoted another wild pool party set for August 2nd, where he even claimed DC himself would be there hosting. Ross hyped it up like it was going to be a movie, promising vibes and energy. But now, every one of those celebrity pool parties is under the microscope. Ever since Diddy's freak-off allegations hit headlines, nobody looks at these events the same way anymore. And here's where history comes back to haunt Ross. Back in 2013, he had that infamous lyric, "Put Molly all in her champagne, she ain't even know it." That bar cost him brand deals and nearly tanked his public image.
Teflon Don, you know what I'm saying? So it's just,
Then you
we could have those debates, we really could.
Teflon was off the chain.
I mean,
You know what I'm
and
saying?
I like the way
Teflon was a
you
different
followed up
time.
hustling with pushing it. Like, how did you know to come right back on their ass with them?
You got to.
Right.
Man, just don't take the foot off the gas at all.
At the time, people eventually moved on, but now fans are revisiting it as a clue, a breadcrumb in a bigger trail. Even 50 Cent stirred the pot, hinting in his Diddy documentary that Ross wasn't just a bystander at these secretive parties. He suggested there were bottles, hidden after-hours events, and women who later claimed they couldn't remember the nights. What once looked like random party boy antics started looking like part of a darker, ongoing pattern. The foam party footage only added fuel. Internet detectives slowed it down, frame by frame, freezing moments to zoom in on every detail. One guest stood out, a person not on the invite list, not arriving with Ross, not leaving with Diddy. But what caught people's eyes was the thick metallic bracelet they wore, engraved with a strange emblem.
But you didn't eat it. And we respect when shit to do, bro. Just tell us as soon as you come in, "Hey, little homies, I got an hour." Bet, we gonna try to get you in. Man, we gonna try to get you in about 45 minutes so you can make it to your next destination. Don't pull up, act like you doing us a favor, and then just leave her without saying something. Just say something so we can know what's going on, gang. We ain't tripping. We'll push back up. Your team, we called your team. We called the person who we called when you was on the way. Guess what they said? We don't know where he go.
Fans started comparing it to paparazzi shots of someone close to Diddy's circle. No names, no faces, but the implication was loud. And that's when things got even darker. Things got way darker in 2018 when a man named Jonathan O.D. made headlines after opening fire at Trump National Doral. During police questioning, instead of just sounding like a shooter, he went on a wild rant about being trapped in some twisted world run by Diddy. And yes, he named Rick Ross too. Jonathan claimed he had been kept like a slave, forced into bizarre situations, and even said Ross and Diddy were tight in ways the public didn't realize. He dropped Cassie's name, saying Sean told him what to do, and described being pushed into about 15 encounters, with hints that there was way more he overheard. At the time, the whole internet laughed it off as conspiracy nonsense. But after Cassie's lawsuit and leaked clips from those infamous parties, people started revisiting Jonathan's claims like maybe, just maybe, he wasn't as crazy as folks thought.
Use the restroom one time and I'm gonna take this jacket off.
Let's do it.
Yeah, you can't.
Man,
you
stay
can't
tuned.
You can't take your foot off for nothing.
All gas.
Oh, I'm talking about for life.
Jonathan didn't stop there. He went into full detail about what he called satanic rituals and CIA-style mind programming, even saying families got pulled into it. He claimed they were practicing things he connected to Bohemian Grove and Illuminati-style symbolism, mentioning bull icons and initiation-like ceremonies. He accused them of locking him into shady contracts, giving him an STD, and hiding behind elite lawyers like Kenny and Ben Mazes. He even dragged Ross into a bigger narrative, saying Ross had his own motives, linking it to the idea that Tupac was taken out because death boosts record sales, and then flipped it, saying Pac was actually alive in Cuba. It sounded off the wall, but here's the twist. Some details stuck. During Diddy's BET Lifetime Achievement Award, he publicly thanked Kenny Ellis, the same name Jonathan had mentioned in his so-called ramblings.
Man, I came to your podcast. I came for free, homie, no charge. I did it on Face, homie. I didn't ask you what your analytics was and this and that. I came on Face, homie, to show love. And don't make it like I walked off on you. I left early. Rose had some other things to do too. But guess what? I can't.
That one slip gave his whole story a thin layer of credibility, like maybe he wasn't pulling everything out of thin air. Piece by piece, Jonathan's wild claims started looking less like a random meltdown and more like early warning shots. Rituals, NDAs, tapes, hidden parties, it all started getting confirmed from other angles. Suddenly those soap parties weren't just fun bubbles anymore. With no phones allowed, thick foam everywhere, all white dress codes, and NDAs at the door, the whole setup looked like it had another purpose. People started comparing it to secret initiation ceremonies. Old clips of Diddy and Ross laughing while washing cars, covered in suds, got dug back up and replayed with a whole new meaning.
At least have me some lemon pepper Wingstop at that. You heard me? But I came for free. I ain't charge you. You feel me? Don't talk about Rose other business. I came and did that. And what is the analytics? How the show doing anyway, man? I'll come back on it, and when I'm gonna walk off that the next time, and this bitch say, Rose, was I doing? Of course not.
Back then, Ross joked, you know, the tip's gonna be good. It seemed harmless at the time, just playful banter. But now, people rewatch that moment like it was some inside joke tied to the very rumors swirling today. When DC Young Fly dropped that blurred foam clip, it didn't feel random. It felt calculated, almost like a warning shot. But instead of things cooling down, they heated up even more. DC went live on social media, fighting back tears, admitting he'd realized one of his own close friends had been secretly hating on him behind the scenes. He said social media gave people the guts to talk reckless without facing the consequences, reminding everyone that back in his day, you had to be ready to stand on anything you said, even if it meant catching a punch to the face. His words weren't aimed at trolls. It sounded personal, like somebody close had taken a jab online. DC's energy made it clear the old laws still applied and some lines couldn't be crossed without real-life consequences. The part that made it even spookier, DC isn't just some outsider throwing accusations. He's been around the machine. There's footage of him at Combs Enterprises with the 85 South crew pitching to revolt. Diddy himself had called DC directly in the past to book a comedy show. DC knew the world he was hinting at, and the blurred footage he leaked proved it. And here's the most unsettling rumor of all. It's not just that Diddy throws wild parties, it's that everything gets documented. Every room, every hallway, every car, every angle recorded. Not just replayed later, but kept. That makes the blurred soap party clip hit harder. It wasn't just a leak, it was a threat. Like DC was saying, we all know what really goes down. Your free pass is gone. The public caught on quickly. Those soap jokes weren't funny anymore. Too many NDAs, too many no-phone rules, too many whispers about hidden cameras. The foam suddenly looked less like decoration and more like cover. And right when the internet began piecing things together, the legal side jumped in. Emails started landing in inboxes, sharp, professional, and suspiciously polished. They all used the same phrases: defamatory, mischaracterizing an event, remove or face action. But here's what was telling. They never actually denied what was in the footage. They didn't dispute who was there. They didn't explain the NDAs or the strange bracelet spotted in the clip. It was all pressure, hoping people would panic and delete before things spread further.
First of all, I don't give a
Yeah, I get it.
but I give a because
Try to make it bad.
with you as a person.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Before, okay, let's just say before all that happened, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say before all that happened. Bro, I'm listening to you, Ross. I feel like you wanted to. Hey! Shut the up! I'm listening to you, Ross. I feel like you probably one of the best lyricists from the South that we got. You dig what I'm saying? Like, you poetic, bro. When I listen to your music, I think you put a lot of time and effort into this.
Yeah.
And then came the platform pressure. Accounts reposting even a few seconds of the clip got hit hard. Demonetized, flagged, age-restricted, caption shadow banned if they hinted at certain names. It was like a coordinated move to scare creators out of covering it. But DC, he's not some random blogger. His fan base is solid. they'll follow him anywhere. And even if platforms tried to bury it, the blurred clip still circulated in corners of the internet, and insiders swore there's a longer cut out there, not just bubbles and silhouettes, but clear footage showing who stood where, who moved with who, and who was wearing what. If that version ever dropped, it wouldn't just stir gossip, it could blow everything open. Meanwhile, Rick Ross acted online like nothing ever happened, posting like usual, keeping the energy light, avoiding the storm altogether. But the whispers haven't died down. Some say leaks fade, but others believe the blurred clip was only the tip of the iceberg. If the full tape surfaces, it won't be about rumors anymore, it'll be about receipts and the world watching in real time. By this point, the whole situation wasn't just celebrity gossip anymore, it was turning into a saga of secrets, betrayals, and blurred truths that kept getting darker by the day. What started as a simple walkout by Rick Ross on the 85 South show spiraled into a spotlight on connections between him and Diddy that fans couldn't ignore.
The moment you lead our show, you went and did a podcast, a white podcast. You sat your ass right there for almost 2 hours
And didn't leave.
and you talked. And the white folk asked your ass, was you a correctional officer?
Yeah.
We would have never asked you no shit like that, nigga, 'cause we
Right.
got respect for you.
Right.
And you sat right there and you answered that question so eloquently,
Right.
eloquently.
Yeah, low
you got it.
Right.
You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
DC Young Fly had gone from feeling embarrassed on his own show to being the one holding the receipts, and every move he made online felt intentional. The blurred foam party clip wasn't just content, it was a message. And behind that message was a history of whispers, scandals, and old receipts resurfacing to haunt some of the biggest names in hip-hop. Ross, of course, tried to play it cool. He went about his business as though none of it existed, leaning into his boss persona and brushing off questions. But the internet doesn't forget. And once people started replaying old moments like his 2013 lyric about slipping Molly into champagne, it was like reopening a wound. Back then, the backlash was swift. Brand deals gone, headlines everywhere. But people eventually moved on. Now, that line has been brought back as a piece of evidence in a much bigger puzzle, adding to the unease around Ross's name. Every old clip, every cryptic joke, every blurred video frame started getting dissected for hidden meaning. And with 50 Cent hinting that his Diddy documentary would reveal more about bottles, secret gatherings, and women with lost memories, the pressure around Ross only grew heavier. Meanwhile, DC Young Fly stayed steady, refusing to let Ross or anyone else twist the narrative. When Ross said they should have been grateful he even pulled up, DC clapped back hard, saying legends like T.I. and Snoop Dogg came through the 85 South show for free, no strings attached, no drama. He pointed out the analytics, millions of views, thriving before Ross and thriving after Ross. The truth was, 85 South didn't need Ross. If anything, Ross needed them to show he could connect with the culture. Instead, he walked out mid-show and gave off the image of someone hiding from questions. And once people started wondering what exactly he was running from, the blurred foam footage hit harder than ever. But let's not forget, this wasn't just about Ross anymore. The blurred clip, the NDAs, the no phone rules, the strange metallic bracelet, it all pointed to something bigger, something deeper. DC had been around long enough to know what kind of machine he was poking at. Rumors swirled that Diddy documented everything, every room, every car, every interaction, like some kind of insurance policy. If that's true, then these parties weren't just wild nights, they were files, records, leverage, which made the idea of leaks even scarier for those at the top. That's why the legal pressure was so intense. That's why clips got flagged, demonetized, and wiped from platforms. It wasn't just about gossip, it was about control. The strangest part was how the blurred foam party itself started to look like ritual imagery. The all-white dress code, the foam covering everything like smoke, the confiscated phones, the signed NDAs. Fans started saying it looked less like a celebration and more like a ceremony. People online compared it to Bohemian Grove and secret initiations. Old clips of Diddy and Ross drenched in soap and laughing, which once seemed silly, now got replayed as eerie reminders of what might have been hidden in plain sight. And with Jonathan O.D.'s 2018 rant being pulled back into conversation, things connected in ways that were hard to ignore. The wildest part, nearly every outrageous claim Jonathan made, rituals, NDAs, hidden tapes, Cassie's name, later showed up confirmed through other sources. Suddenly, his story didn't sound so far-fetched anymore. DC wasn't done shaking the room either when he went live emotional, talking about realizing a homeboy had been secretly hating. It didn't just sound like beef, it sounded like a crack in the circle. He spoke about how the internet gives people courage they wouldn't have face-to-face, reminding everyone that where he came from, you had to stand on your words or deal with the consequences. It was more than a warning, it was a declaration. DC made it clear he wasn't some clout chaser trying to stir up smoke for clicks. He'd been inside the building. He'd seen enough to know where the lines were, and by dropping that blurred footage, he was showing he could play chess too. For fans, the anticipation only grew. If the blurred clip was just the teaser, then what would the uncut version show? Who exactly was standing where, doing what? What conversations happened in those bubbles? Who was linked arm in arm with who? The whispers about a longer cut sitting in someone's files only made things more tense, because if that tape ever leaks, it won't be speculation anymore. It'll be receipts, crystal clear for the whole world to see. Ross might still act like nothing happened, and Diddy might still lean on legal teams and platform pressure, but the internet has already shifted. People are side-eyeing every party invite, every all-white pool gathering, every no phones allowed event. What used to be written off as celebrity fun is now read as a red flag, and once the culture starts connecting dots, there's no going back. So, the saga continues. DC's clip turned into a ripple effect, making fans rethink not just Ross, but the whole network of high-profile connections tied to Diddy. It exposed cracks in the walls, pulled back the curtains, and forced people to ask questions they might not want the answers to. And while Ross posts online like nothing ever happened, insiders swear there's more footage, more receipts, and more stories ready to drop. If and when that happens, it won't just be about blurred foam anymore. It'll be about the cold, hard truth that the cameras caught, the NDAs tried to hide, and the culture refuses to forget.